asked a couple people who are here tonight what makes one of these stories cool. And they said 3 things. 1, it has to be funny. 2, it has to be relatable to as many people as possible out in the audience. And 3, it has to have some sort of takeaway lesson. So I thought about what are the things that could be funny, relatable, and have some sort of educational aspect, some sort of lesson. And the answer, poop. So poop is funny. It has its own emoji. It's relatable. Everybody poops. We all poop. She poops. You poop. He poops like a house cat, but still poops. And there's always a lesson with poop, right? Am I right? If you're up telling a story about poop, there's a reason. It's because there's some sort of thing happen that somebody has to take some sort of lesson away so that it won't happen to them. And the best part about being up here and telling a story about poop is that I think it shouldn't be about you. It should be about somebody else. So my story is about my sister, Whitney Milhone, and I think many of you might know her. And she's an amazing public lands owner, and she started working along with Rachel and Cal and RT and a bunch of other you guys out there as a guide on the Middle Fork and the North Fork of the Flathead up at Glacier Anglers and Glacier Raft Company at a very young age, and so she got it rooted into her blood super early. Well, she'd been on the river one summer for, God, it must have been 90 days at this point that summer, and it was late in the season, and man, she's tired, and she's just a little squirt, so she's just, ripped and peaked, and she's just tired. So she gets off of a huge trip in the upper Middle Fork and comes down, and she's thinking she has a couple days off, but she looks at the board and she sees that she's slated to get back up on the North Fork for a 3-day. And the boss comes to her and says, oh, but there's good news. You're gonna have some help. You've got 2 interns who are gonna come and help you. Awesome. So she says, great, they can help pack the trip. So she's hoping that they're gonna help put everything out on that tarp that's laid out in the barn and get everything ready. They don't show up. She starts packing the trip. She finishes packing the trip. They don't show up. The next day, they get up on the truck and they get up into the North Fork, and she's like, oh man, I've actually got 2 extra customers. These guys are gonna be worthless. So they get on the river, and they get up to camp at the very first day, and she's thinking they're gonna help set up camp. Well, they peace out. They go up fishing, they're back in the woods, safety meeting, she has no idea where they are. And so she's like, this is how this trip's gonna go. So she sets up camp, she sings Kumbaya to everybody, tucks everybody in safe and sound, gets everything ready, goes to bed. The next morning, same thing, it's breakfast. She's flipping eggs, she's making the veggie yuppie scramble, and these kids peace out again. And they're gone, and they're completely worthless and not helping. So she's like, oh my God. So she's doing this trip solo. So then lunchtime, same story. So then dinner, same story. So by now she's given up on them. She's like, fine, that's cool, these guys will never work in this industry again. But she's cool with it. Next day, it's the last day of the trip. Same thing at breakfast. Same thing at lunch. They get to the dinner. She goes to pick up firewood to start to make a beautiful campfire and get everything ready as she knows how. She puts her foot in a rotten log, yanks her foot out of the log, whoosh, 200 bees, straight up her shorts, straight up her legs, instantly 70 bee stings over her legs. It's Berenstain Bears style. She's running for the river, can't get them off of her, dives into the river, passes out. She's passed out, floating down the river. She only comes to when she hears the screams of one of her guests who's trying to rescue her and is now drowning. She comes to, manages to grab this client from, where would this client be from, RT? Florida, New Jersey? Sure, why not? grabs this guest, manages to get him back up onto the shore. She passes out onto the shore, comes to with everybody trying to put cold water on her, trying to get her to revive. She manages to make it out of the North Fork in one piece. And these kids come up to her at the end and they say, man, you look like shit. She's like, yeah, her eyes are completely swollen shut. Her mouth is completely swollen shut, and she's got these big cheeks. Her ears are swollen shut. Her hair follicles are standing on end because her head is swollen. Her neck is swollen. She had to cut her chacos off with her knife because they had swollen around the straps. So she's straight up barefoot and just popping out of her shorts. She's dying, and she's feverish, and she's puking. She's sick. She's puking sick. She's got a giant fever, and she's pissed. She gets back to the company. She gets tipped out. The clients are, giving her everything they have. And these two kids come up and put out their hands because they need to get tipped out. I don't know, maybe like 15 people at the barn saw the look in her eyes when she said tip them out. When they said to tip them out. No, it's not going to happen. So she says, I got a better idea. You guys are on groover duty right now. You go grab that shitter and you clean it out, and I'm not touching it. You grab the groover, you clean it out. So you'd think they'd go around the corner. They'd pick up that ammo can full of 3.5 days of human feces and clean it out because they needed to. But what did they do? Peaced out. They're gone. And when I say they're gone, I mean nobody knows where they went. But they left for good. They left the company. Nobody even remembers their name. They were gone. They never probably ever worked in the industry, but they're gone. So that means she's left to clean the groover. She's swollen. She's puffy. Nobody is around. She's got to do it by herself. She just wants to get home. So she goes back around to the grass. And the way that the groovers work, and I know that a lot of you may have the same toilet system that we have at Glacier Raft Company and Glacier Anglers. But the groover is, it's an ammo can. And for those of you who may not use a groover on the regular, it's called a groover because it's an ammo can. And so back in the day when there wasn't a seat, you sat on it and it made 2 grooves right on your rear, right? So that's why it's called the groover. So in this day and age, the groovers are super chic. They've got like a beautiful seat on it. It's kind of padded, and that's for New Jersey. And to clean the groover, you kind of take off this fancy toilet seat, and there's this lid that goes on top, and then there's kind of this round hatch that's on the top of that screws on, and it keeps it nice and tight. And then on the top of that, there's this kind of little like thing. What is that? I don't know. Some sort of apparatus that sticks in there, and this hose comes out, and you put it into the sump that goes into the sewer, right? It has a sewer tank out back. So you hook up all this stuff, and then you turn it on, and it's meant to sump it all out, and you have to kind of give it a little shake because it's 3.5 days of full groover. So you kind of have to give it a shake to kind of get it going, and the rules in the backcountry are, you only go number 2 in the groover, but like every 4th person can go number 1 just to kind of keep it loose so that it's not like just, because you have to get it into the sump at the end. So like every 4th person, I love you! And so you kind of like shake it around, so it's a little loose in there. So this poor girl is swollen, she's pukey, she's feverish, she can't freaking see. And so she hooks the thing up, screws it in, bam. So she picks it up, and you do the shake like normal, and kind of get it down going into the pump. Well, it's not really going down. Well, in her feverish stupor, that dumbass picks up the groover and shakes it like this, and off pops the hatch, boom, covered. 3.5 days of human feces and every 4th person's pee and little tiny flecks of toilet paper, all covering this beautiful little girl. Head to toe, covered. And by this point, some of the guides have come out onto the grass, and everybody's kind of doing their thing, and people see it. And everybody went into the zone. Like everybody was like, this is threat level fuchsia. We have to fix this situation. So Rachel Vandervoort grabs her knife, tears off Whitney's clothes with her knife because these are shit-covered clothes. She tears them off, knifes the clothes far into the woods, Ryan Thompson grabs the hose, turns it on full blast, starts spraying her down. She's laying like full star in the grass. And the good thing is, her eyes are swollen shut. And her mouth is swollen shut. And all she's doing is going, and she's laying in the grass, and they're spraying her off, and she's in her underwear, and they're like cutting off her clothes, and then everybody's like throwing dirt and grass and sticks and like pieces of whatever, just to kind of try to absorb it and cover her and like, yeah, and spray her off again, and then throw more sticks and trees and stuff on her and like spray her off again. And so she finally stands up, and she is the swamp thing. She stinks, and she's soaking wet, and she's dripping still with 3.5 days of New Jersey. And where the barn is, there's kind of this long driveway that goes back down to the super fancy fly shop. And everybody looks at her, and everything's silent. And she just looks, and she's just swollen. She's just, dripping swamp thing. And she marches her way all the way down the road in her underwear, stanky, into the fly shop, and she throws open the double doors, and all 3 owners are standing there with a huge fly shop full of people. And she marches in, and she says, I need to take tomorrow off. And that is Guide Life, and that is what you sign up for, and that is the glamour. But you know what? The thing is I know for a fact she wouldn't change it for a thing, because without our public lands, I wouldn't be able to tell you about my little sister covered in 3.5 days of human feces and little tiny flecks of toilet paper from New Jersey. So ladies and gentlemen, please do all you can to make sure the bastards don't take it away, and keep your public lands in public hands.